of the City of Apache Junction Parks and Recreation Commission to order at this time. As I said, 6 p.m. May we have a roll call for attendance, please?
Certainly. Commissioner Jesse Gage,
Here.
Commissioner Luciano Buzan,
Here.
Commissioner Frank Steinbach,
Here.
Chairman Wayne Standish,
Here.
Vice Chairman Heather Moeller,
Here.
Commissioner Walker Waldy,
Here.
and Commissioner Judy Boyd.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mary. May I have everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, our next item is, I need a motion to accept, for the agenda for tonight. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, you got that, Mary? Okay. Okay, our next item is acceptance of minutes of September.
We need
Whoa,
roll
whoa, whoa.
call. We need roll call.
Oh, that's right,
because-
sorry. Need a roll call, please, for the acceptance?
Okay, Commissioner Walker Waldy,
Yes.
Commissioner Judy Boyd,
Yes.
Commissioner Jesse Gage,
Yes.
Luciano Buzan,
Yes.
Commissioner Frank Steinbach,
Yes.
Chairman Wayne Standish,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Heather Moeller.
Yes.
It passes 7-0.
7-0. Thank you. Our next item is acceptance of the minutes for September 2nd, 2020 meeting that we had. Do I have a motion?
I made a motion to accept it.
I
Okay.
second.
Okay. And you got that now, Mary? We're at that stage?
Luciano made the motion? Who did the-
Luciana
Okay.
and Jesse seconded.
No, he
I
did-
seconded.
Okay,
Oh, Waldy.
Walker,
Well,
okay. Roll call for the exception of the motion will be Judy Boyd,
Yes.
Jesse Gage,
Yes.
Luciano Buzan,
Yes.
Frank Steinbach,
Yes.
Wayne Standish,
yes.
Chairman Standish, Vice Chairman Heather Moeller,
Yes.
and Walker Waldy.
Yes.
It passes 7-0.
Okay. Thank you very much. Our next item is Parks and Recreation Director's Report.
All right, thank you, Chairman Standage. Just a few things on facilities, just had a couple of announcements for you all. We do have, this Saturday is going to be the Make a Difference Day that Apache Junction Community Development Corporation is sponsoring. And they did, amongst other projects in the community, they did choose Silly Mountain Park and the Focal Point as two areas that they are going to do a cleanup at and do some other projects for us that were requiring volunteers. Because of the COVID situation, they tried to pick some projects where they can be spread out and they'll have masks available and those kinds of things, but they've identified areas that people could come and physically distance and do as their family in some different areas. So just quickly, the Focal Point is really just a weeding, kind of the area behind. So we maintain everything in front of the Focal Point and directly behind it, but there's a little sidewalk and everything there is the property owner across, so they're going to clean up all that. They've gotten permission from the property owner, and then they're also going to do a little bit of cleaning up of the cactus. Sometimes those get the little brown blooms and stuff, so they'll be kind of raking those out, cleaning all of that out a little bit. They're also going to be digging up a few of the cactus to move out to Silly Mountain in some areas that we are lacking. The other photo that I have here is of Silly Mountain. So the master gardeners basically check that area for us during the cool months, pretty much every other week or so. During the summer, they kind of take a little bit of time where they might come out every month or so, but we've been working with them to look at areas that needed to be replanted with some areas that might have died out or plants that didn't quite make it. And then also they've identified areas where the signs could either be changed or maybe they're missing, or there might be a better specimen than the one that was originally picked. So when we first do the botanical walk, everything that gets planted, it is all native. But as it got planted, it's very small. So every once in a while, you get a plant that is very close to another specimen in the way it looks as a tiny baby. And so occasionally, a sign is in the wrong place. The other thing is that you just never know, so of how things are going to grow, where they're going to get eaten by animals, or they might be by a different water source or more shade. So we have some that might have been overrun by another species, but a really great specimen further on in the walk. So they've identified all of that, and the AJCDC's group is going to be, they're bringing out the volunteers to be able to add signs, add plants, and then do some weeding. So we spent today going through with our master gardeners and our park supervisor, Matt King, to kind of show that, you know, this is a desert botanical walk. So what might look like weeds to some people are just plants that are really in their horrible summer phase. They might look dead, and they very well could be after this summer, but we don't want to mess with those. That is part of the desert, and that's a great education time for all the volunteers that will be coming out. So that's one. Both of those projects start at 8 a.m. Saturday morning. They did announce it to the public. They will have a registration. They have a very COVID-friendly process, so that way people can get checked in and have gloves and other things. So if you are interested in helping out with that, you're certainly welcome to join them. And that's this Saturday at 8 a.m.
We're doing the same thing at our church, so if you have too much help, send them over.
Sounds good. All right. Good to know. Additionally, this might also interest any of you. They are going to have big dumpsters behind the focal point that is available for the community to bring large things that they want to get rid of. It'll be a drive-through. The community members have to dump their own item, but they'll have some big dumpsters, and when they're full, they're full. So if you have anything you want to get rid of, you're welcome to I'd come at 8.
Liz, is
Yes.
that where they're meeting at the focal point?
So for the focal point group, they're meeting at the focal point, but the Silly Mountain group will meet out at Silly Mountain, and both at 8 a.m. Apache Trail, so we paired up Apache Trail Median last year with the Make a Difference Day, but because they chose a date that's so early in the year, it's really not ideal for our planting, because we're going to be planting things that don't have a drip system with them. We'll be hand watering them. There's no way they can make it through this time frame. Additionally, we really wanted to make it's an in-house project, so it's public works and parks when we don't have even when we have other things going on, it's taking that time to do all of the improvements on the trail. So if you've gone out there recently on the trail east of Ironwood, those two little median areas they've been bringing in dirt, digging out the channel, and then creating the mounds, and it's looking great. They've done an amazing job in a very short amount of time. So that'll probably wrap up this week or next week with whatever they're trying to finish. And then the plan is that Apache Trail Median volunteer project will be November 7th, planting all the plants with Team Rubicon. They're coming back again this year. And then we'll have another day, either the next day or the following weekend, to do the trees that Arizona Sustainability Alliance is donating. Again, we're just really trying to kind of keep our groups a little bit smaller so that people can spread out. And we will share that date out with anybody that wants to join us. I'm trying to think. And so we'll do the planting first, and then we did budget this year for the granite to be placed, and then also the riprap we'll be bringing in after the fact. So, but we do have we're working with a granite spreader, a shooter, and we got an amazing deal on that this year. And so that will be much simpler than the process that we did last year. We were really considering, and I know I shared this with you last year, that if we didn't have that, then we would probably be doing the granite first, unfortunately, and leaving spots open for the plants to get augered and planted and then fill it in. It would have been very time-consuming, but this company will go out, they'll shield the plants. We'll have people on staff as well to help, but it should go much smoother and quicker and save all of our plants, unlike before. So, you had a question?
Yes, Liz, are they planting trees that are native to the
So,
area and that?
Yep, so just remember that the Apache Trail Median Project is the entire length from Phelps to Meridian, and all of it is planned with native plants. It will not have a drip irrigation system. We have been hand watering it. So in any other year, we would have been fine. This summer, the plants took a beating. All of the trees are still doing really well. We have some plants that we'll have to replace, but a lot of them will come back whenever it's time. And so, yes, they're all native species. They're not just drought tolerant, they're actually native. And so if you go down Royal Palm, all those trees that we planted there, they had a time to really establish. And so this drought, while it certainly is challenging for them, it is nothing like what it was for the brand new stuff. And it's still thriving and doing really well. So we're very excited about that. It's definitely a success. If it would just cool off a little. So that's the Apache Trail Median. And then just a couple of other minor facility things. Well, not minor. I just want to remind you, as I shared last time, we are overseeding different areas this year, and I just want you to be aware. We have shared a few social media posts so that people would know why they look the way that they do. We are doing Superstition Shadows Park and Flatiron, and then we are also doing City Hall and the Veterans Memorial. We are letting Prospector Park and Little League rest this year, so because we have less usage on it, we're going to take this opportunity this year to, one, save water and get our Arizona Department of Water Resources rack up a little bit of credit because we've been very close to overusing what we're allotted, and also give a rest year. So it's good to let it rest every 5 years or so and skip an overseeding. We haven't done that at Prospector Park in all the years that I've been a part of the department. And again, we've done fine, but it certainly doesn't hurt to have that. So just want you to be aware that it's not going to look as great as it normally. Prospector Park is the one that usually looks just amazing. So they'll still do a lot. They're going to take that opportunity to do some other treatments to it that they can do during that same time frame that doesn't require, more aerating, more things that are going to rejuvenate the soil, and it will be better for it in the long run. And then the last item I have for facilities is I just wanted to report back to you that we did talk with the Art Commission about several different facility art projects, and I will talk a little bit more about the dog park when we get to that. But we shared with them all of the different opportunities for art, our roundabout, South Route 88 roundabout that we've taken over. They are very interested in bringing vegetation and art at some point there, and so we had a conversation, shared with them the plan for that. They are in the middle of doing an inventory of art all around the city of Apache Junction, and they are working on an interactive map that will be on the city's website. And our facilities are definitely some of the main ones that have art at them right now. So, a lot of our different things that have happened throughout the year. I think that's very exciting because we're kind of the keeper in files of all the history of things. And it's not really, there was no place really for it to be out there. And with Nick retiring and, when Jeff retired, we do know some things, but we have to look up some of those. So I'm just happy to be able to start getting that out there and in a place where the community can see it. And we won't, one day when we're not here, it will still be someplace and we'll know, where some of those different features came from.
Liz, one more question on overseeding. When could we tell people the parks will be back to green?
So usually we'll do a good mowing. So usually we go about 4 weeks that the process, so depending on when we started. So Flatiron, we started mid to end of September.
I
So
meant the ones that we're letting rest.
Oh, they'll be back to green. So they'll still go green. They'll still be green. We're not scalping them or anything like that. They just won't be as uniform and as bright green. Prospector is still gonna look, you know,
Okay.
well. We never oversee Superstition Shadows ball field, but they do a lot of fertilization and other things that keep it going throughout the year. So they'll still be green, they just won't be as vibrant, they won't have that. And there'll be a little bit of a transition period. I think the time when they might see it, might notice it the most, is really gonna be like December to end of January, part of February. As soon as it's warm again, then they'll see it, the summer grass will start coming in, and it won't be that
We just
noticeable.
may hear about it on social media
Yes.
during that time.
So just kind of remember at Flatiron. Flatiron, it was okay. Last year when we missed this window because of the rain, it was really around December-ish that it was really yellow and brown, and we just really tried to have it be well manicured yellow grass. Prospector Park, you know, we'll see what it's like. I would say December and January would probably be the worst months.
Thank you.
I have a question. On the
Yeah.
Tilly Mountain, what they gonna clean, the parking area on the trails too?
Thank you. So they're really focusing on the botanical walk and the entrance. So the parking area, once you get in the fence, they are working on, there are weeds there that we do want to get rid of. So they'll be going through and they're identifying what can be cleaned up a little bit. We're not going to be up on the trails. So Superstition Area Land Trust, they focus on the trails. And we and Master Gardeners focus on the botanical walk and the entranceway. They're going to do as much as they can of the entry trail, the main one, realign the rocks. They're going to paint some of the signage a little bit clearer. But they're only going to be there for about 4 hours that day, and there's a lot that they have on their plate. So they kind of are identifying whatever they don't get to. We have some other volunteer groups that are very interested in coming out, so.
The question I asked because I'm there every Sunday. I
Okay,
go up and down the trail.
okay. Are the trails themselves really, is it starting to encroach in the trail?
Some places they need a little bit, but not
Okay.
that much. Most
Well-
of the places are okay.
Good to know.
There is a stone here and there that they coming down and somebody kicking on the side a little bit,
Okay.
but it's not that much on the trail.
So Superstition Area Land Trust, many of their members are not here during the summer, or they go to their winter spot up north here in Arizona. So our guys will definitely take a look at that, just in, because they probably won't be back until about November, usually. So we'll take a look at that. Thank
But
you.
Like I said, is a lot of people every Sunday there.
Okay.
Is around between 35 to 50 cars.
Oh,
all-
easily, yeah.
Yeah.
And now mornings, there's
Yeah.
about the same amount of
About
cars
in the
every day.
morning,
Yeah,
Between
it's
6
Or
o'clock to
evenings.
9 o'clock.
Yeah.
in the
After
morning,
the
yeah.
sun goes down.
a little bit, so
There's-
just because they can't walk once it's too dark, so, but
Yeah.
I'm just amazed at how many people are out there walking now with it being so hot. And that concludes my facilities update.
Okay. Any other questions, folks?
And I can go into the programs update if that's okay with you?
Yes, ma'am. That's what-
Okay.
I was just asking if there were
Perfect.
any other for us,
Yes, sorry.
for you.
Any other questions? Okay. So just a couple of things that are coming up that I want to make you aware of. So this all is out on all of our social media. Our special events and recreation team have done a really awesome job of trying to come up with some fun activities that people can do, keeping in mind that we can't have gatherings. The booth-through is a drive-through, just like we did for Easter. We will have some of our booths around at our parks, and then we're partnering with the business community. They have some very strict guidelines on how they can prepare their little candy or whatever it's going to be going to people, being masked, wearing gloves, all of those kinds of things. But we will be doing this on Halloween this year, and the drive-through will be kind of the event for Halloween. I put this on your, I never know how to, okay, there we go. You have a copy of this, and on the back is the full version of everything that's kind of happening related to Halloween. So we will be having a virtual costume contest. You know, I would just say that's definitely going to be promoted mostly through Facebook, and they'll advertise a little bit on some of our other social media, a virtual pumpkin carving contest. And then in addition to the booth-through trick-or-treat stations where they can get candy, similarly to what we did during Easter, we partnered with all the businesses to have kind of a monster scavenger hunt. There'll be a big picture of a monster in each of the windows of the businesses that want to be on our map and participate. And again, just a way to get people to see what businesses are out there, what they're doing here during this time frame. Many of, help them to attract a little bit more business through those areas, very similarly to the Easter hunt. So it'll be a scavenger hunt.
We can't get people in costume?
They can have people in costume,
That
so,
would be much more interesting
Yeah.
than cardboard cutout.
so the thing with the with the cutouts is that it is over a several day period, so it's a week-long scavenger hunt. People will be able to be in costumes on Halloween for sure, though, so all the businesses will be, decorating and doing all those kinds of things.
Who did this? May I ask?
Who created
Who created all the stuff on here?
So
for you?
Jeff Kopp, many of you know from our he handled all of our facility reservations for many
Oh, okay.
years. He's actually been moved to the so he is running all special events, as well as, he always coordinated all the partnered special events because he was the facilities person. So he now is in charge of all special events as well as special interest classes. So, like art classes and, a whole bunch of different music and things like that. And he created all of this information for it.
I'm awed
Yeah.
by it.
Yeah. And then Jamie Sullivan, they
Yeah.
have a team of people that have absolutely worked on all of these things. But yeah, this is Jeff Kopp's creation. So yeah, he did a great job.
Well, thank you.
Yes, I will.
On my part, anyway.
Absolutely.
I'm in awe of it.
This is should have been with facilities, sorry. We wanted just to make sure that you are aware that we do have a drive-through COVID testing site that is in the west parking lot off of Idaho. We are supposed to be a closed pod for, through emergency operations. We would be a site for distribution of things that need to happen in an emergency. We really hadn't been able to coordinate anything like that, but this agency had reached out to us about doing a free COVID testing, and it definitely serves some of our purposes in having that health and wellness aspect over there. So they are in that parking lot. They're 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., asymptomatic and symptomatic testing, which has been really hard to find out in this area, unless a doctor will, help you to get into that. So, they'll be doing it until probably the end of the year or whenever. If there's enough interest or whatever, then they will continue. But it's the only one that's really out this far in the East Valley.
So they don't, I'm sorry, Liz.
It's okay.
This is free and you don't need insurance?
So if you have insurance that covers a COVID test, then you would show them your insurance card and they would work to get that from the insurance. You wouldn't do anything. You should not pay a copay, though. You won't be giving them any money. If your insurance pays for it, great. If it doesn't, then it's part of the funding that the government has for COVID testing. So it should be zero cost to the person. They are not calling it free because it's technically not free. Somebody's going to be paying for it, but it's money that they have.
Thanks.
Yes. Let's see.
And I went and did that already, so.
Did you, Judy?
It was very quick.
I heard you pegged the meter, was that true?
I'm still waiting for results.
Well, I hope they're negative, Judy.
Me too.
So wanted just to report back, we presented on all of our things that were open, and so program-wise, just wanted to share a couple of quick tidbits. The MGC is going well. We still don't have huge attendance. We are averaging, so none of our time slots, and just as a reminder, people have to reserve a time slot right now. Everything that we are doing follows the Arizona State, or the state health department's guidelines. In order to be open, we have to do the things that we're doing. And so we have to take reservations. We have to be at 25% of our capacity. We are close to being, I think our numbers are close to being where we could be to open up a little more. But we're still kind of being conservative, really responding to what members are looking for. So none of our time slots have been maxed yet. We are getting good numbers. Our busiest time is really early in the morning. We're getting about 15 people in any one time slot. And so we're able to really make sure that people can physically distance. Again, remember, they have to wear a mask as part of the guidelines. And so that is definitely a little bit tougher for some people. So they've chosen not to do it. Our group fitness classes, we were able to start those as well. They're very small classes, or in the gymnasium or the multi-purpose room, so that they could be very spread out. Those are seeing anywhere from 3 to 8 people on average. We did our chair yoga class today, which is held in the gym, or the multipurpose, had 12, and that's been our high, you know, we've never had that amount. We've never had more than 10 until today. So we are at a very reduced staffing, so we don't have, all the part-time staff that are still on payroll are there, and they're filling in where they can, but we're pretty much operating with our full-time staff that would be normally doing other things. So, you know, our facilities manager is out at the counter. Mary March and Mary Smiley, they're coming over and covering one of the counters instead of being in their offices. As we have a little less programming going on, well, quite a bit less programming, those coordinators are filling in at the MGC so that we are not incurring costs with our numbers so low, just so that we can kind of balance the revenue versus expenditures that are there. So our full-time people, they're there, they're going to be getting paid wherever they're at, and so we're using them in a lot of those settings. The virtual classroom ended, and do you have a question on that?
Liz, on that, the amount of people that can come in, is that kind of based on the zip codes?
So what we had shared is that basically your zip code tells you when you were able to open for 25% capacity. And our zip code, once we met the moderate level of community spread, then we were able to be open. Remember that we did the appeal 1 week earlier. It didn't matter. We ended up, by the time we got it all answered, we made it anyways. And we allowed in less people in order to have the appeal to be open somewhat. So the zip code just affects whether you can open or not.
There's no way that it affects that you can increase the number of people?
It will. So when we
It
get
will?
to the
Okay.
low risk, we'll be able to increase by 50, I think, to 50% of our capacity.
Okay.
So it is about the zip code, but it's also, yeah, I mean, it is about the zip code. Sorry.
No,
It
no,
is.
that's okay. My wife, where she works, she has to do a lot of that, so she sees the zip codes. And so she looks at ours
Yeah.
every time.
And ours
she
is
does.
really is decreasing in our city limits, according to the report that the PD gets each week. So that's encouraging.
You have to turn many people away with the lower number?
So we haven't. So that's what, as I explained, so because they have to reserve, we haven't maxed any of those reservations. So we're even able to accommodate a couple of, we do have people that drop in that will just take the chance to see if, and we haven't had to turn anybody away yet.
Nice.
I will say, our staff, we do have some young staff. They've done a great job of explaining to people why they have to wear a mask. We've only had a few in the beginning that really, kind of came, were like, oh, I don't think I can work out with a mask on. And staff were really good about just saying, I'm sorry, I can understand. You're welcome to come back whenever the mask mandate is lifted. And they've all gone and gotten a mask and come in and worked out. And it is definitely different, but I think we all kind of tested it out ourselves. I really give credit to Jamie and Larry and the team at the MGC. They put out some surveys ahead of time. They did a lot of things to educate the MGC membership that the only way we can open is by everybody cooperating. And so I really feel like that helped us a lot to negate having a lot of people that we had to, that were angry.
How many zip codes we have in Apache Junction?
So I think it's just 85119 and 85120.
Yes,
Okay.
two of them.
Yeah.
Two zip codes come.
Yep.
Okay.
But they also go into Mesa and Maricopa a little.
Well, I think we still have the zip code is the same, though, the one that's
Yeah.
in the Maricopa County Island. And we certainly have membership that's coming from Gold Canyon and Mesa, but they all met so Mesa met the metric before we did, so they were all okay.
Right.
Is there 85118?
Is Gold Canyon.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not city limits.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, it's not just based on our city, it's our county's so it's not just our zip code numbers, it's all the zip codes in the county. Just as a reminder, we talked about that last time. So it's not just what happens in AJ, it's what happens in the whole county.
Have they been able to adjust for the prison
They
population?
did, so I think that helped a little bit. They weren't gonna take those out, and then they changed their mind and decided that they would.
It's just more reasonable.
So that's the MGC. The virtual classroom ended, whenever, before break happened. The kids in our community at our public schools will be going back in person, starting October 12th, or they'll have the option to, and so people will have the choice. So we won't have the need to have it anymore. That was very successful, though. we were averaging 18 to 20 a day. It's probably about, I'd say, 30 to 35 kids that really took advantage of the program. Boys and Girls Club also had their site, though, Little Prospector, and at some point, the school districts had to open up one site. But we stayed pretty consistent, and I think it was definitely a big help for a lot of the families. Again, a program that our existing full-time staff managed, so that it wasn't, any extra cost or anything that we were doing, and our center wasn't being utilized. So that was kind of the prime reason why we took advantage of that time frame to help out in the community. I think the only other major thing that we have going on right now that has been really well received is our movies in the park. We pretty much have 2 a month. November and December, we'll only have 1 each month. But we're also showing double, what do you call that?
Double feature?
Thank you, double. It's really not 2 different movies, though. So it's the double of the same movie that we're doing, but those are all filled up now. So they've been really filling up. We're going to probably try to expand it just a little bit, but our side screen, we can only fit a certain amount of cars. It's been really well received, especially now that it's cooling off a little bit more, but they've been very popular.
You fill up. We're, at the church, we're looking at trying outdoor also.
Okay,
We've
great.
got somebody with a screen, and
Yeah,
so it's
awesome.
interesting to see you fill up. That gives us, maybe we need to take reservations too.
Yeah, and it was really nice doing reservations because then we can plan for it a little bit better. We have a wide variety of other smaller classes going on. I'm just not going to go into all of those different things.
On the movies, isn't that out at the rodeo grounds
Yep.
now?
Mhm.
So,
It had our biggest parking area where you could see
Yes.
the screen and park. Our plan is, as long as things continue the way they are, sports, we shared that last time.
Right.
If you want it, nothing really has changed since the presentation we did last month, so definitely take a look at that of where we should be opening up things. So sports will be coming back up in November. We're taking registration now, so.
okay.
And that concludes what I have for programs.
Okay, for those 2. Any questions, folks? Okay. Now it's time for old business. Yeah, we're gonna wear you out, kiddo.
Okay. Let's see here. Dog park is first. Just going to pull this up really quickly. I'm not going to do the whole, we did our presentation last time.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to bring up a couple of maps just for our reference. This is the one that's attached to the agenda. Not a whole lot of things, unfortunately, to report differently, other than we did go to the Art Commission to talk about the same art locations that we shared with all of you. They are happy with those. They loved the J2, or the suggestions that we kind of went through. Very interested in the dog tag ideas, some of the wind chime, different things that we shared. They also talked about, some functional art, things that the dogs can climb on. And as I shared before, there will definitely be some large boulders that are safe for dogs and people to either sit on or dogs to play on. But we will continue to look for ideas. And I don't know if any of you guys had any other ideas since we talked last of art. And then just as a reminder, so we've asked them, we'll be coming back to them. They were kind of tasked with going and looking and seeing if they had some other suggestions. And then we'll work together with them. So they'll definitely have a weigh in, because any of our new buildings, that percentage that has to go of the construction dollars has to go towards art, and then our art commission will be weighing in on that process and giving thoughts. But they were very much in line with a lot of the feedback that you guys gave. I think our biggest trouble will just be narrowing down what people like. And so I think we'll have to kind of do some, we'll definitely be involving the community and doing some ideas of, here's people's top choices, and let the Art Commission kind of decide how we're going to go through that process. But we still have time. These were just the locations that J2, the design team, had suggested. I just want to remind you, there is a county, I know you guys mentioned before about having a dog park sign here, but it is the county complex sign, and I definitely, we want to be a great partner here, so we're not going to take down their sign. There will be a dog park sign on this corner, though, and while these might be good places for art, the recommendation was just putting it in the park where people can interact with it, be close to it, learn about it, versus have to walk out to the road to know more. And they're definitely, I think everybody was talking about having multiple smaller applications of art, that might be a neat idea. And I think there was a lot of traction on the, whatever we pick, whether it's, the dogs that get, we talked a little bit about the dogs that artists could paint and submit a submittal, or a fire hydrant, whatever it is, and having those throughout the park as well as at other sites. Again, like the Wisconsin cow idea and the Mustangs that are someplace.
A thought just occurred to me with all the shade we have, bird houses,
Oh.
bird feeders.
Really cool idea.
In trash cans, maybe decorated trash cans.
Yeah. So I think they were really interested in also the unique ideas. So while they also brought up pavers and some of those different things that could be done, but the art that we want to pick, we really would like it to be something different that not everybody else is doing. So we'll kind of continue with that. The last thing, so as I said before, really J2, right now, they really are still just focusing on the drainage. They're working with the planning department and making sure that everything, that enough data is in all of their drainage report to make everybody really comfortable with this plan and seeing what needs to be adjusted. But other than that, we're kind of waiting on that. And then the solar lighting, they are going out to several different companies to get some different ideas of how to do the solar here. I guess there's some different thoughts. And we might have some field trips at some point for those companies to be able to tell us, here's where we've done it before, and we can go out and kind of see what looks like it works. That's everything that I have for the dog park, unless you have, I'm sorry, two other really quick things. The committee, so remember that we are formulating a committee. A lot of our members of the citizens that had weighed in before, many of them are either, up north in Arizona, or they're someplace else during the hot summer months. And so we're trying to make sure that the people that were involved in the beginning stages get a chance to weigh in. We have other community members that are here year-round. But we also had a lot of Parks and Rec Commission applicants, that we had 2 seats to fill, and many of them mentioned their interest in the dog park. And so we'll probably reach out to them, and a committee would be a great way for them to get their feet wet, just getting involved with something and see if any of them want to be a part of it. The paper did do a short article on our last commission meeting and the last commission meeting, I know for sure, and talked about us soliciting for volunteers for the committee, and that they could reach out to me directly. So hopefully I'll have a little bit more to report. We'll have some set dates and things like that. But just remember that their task is to it's really more of them to give some thoughts to park regulations, operations. We'll certainly let them take a look at this and talk about things, but they'll just we'll be sharing that information with all of you just to have that other piece. And then grants, the new grants coordinator for the city was recently hired. I believe she starts the end of this month. If she hasn't already started, it's happening soon. And so we have a long list of grants that we have kind of already queued and on the radar for her to start working with us on. And that wraps up the dog park, unless you have questions.
Just a pet peeve of mine, the north arrow on this.
So
Pointing east
just
or
so you
something.
know, this is still the same. Thank you. The new one will have, the 90% will have the new stuff. I have not updated the image I had in here. They know.
Okay, good.
So sorry, I agree.
It's crooked outlets that drive me crazy.
Shoot, I was gonna
Lost all
try to
the
hide
time,
it.
you know?
Okay.
Okay, that does the dog park. Our next deal is a COVID-19.
So I pretty much shared with you everything for COVID-19 update. So there's really not a whole lot of new things. We are continuing in the parks with, our morning crew does a cleaning. We have a recreation crew that comes out midday and does another gentle cleaning. And then at night we have a cleaning of playgrounds and or of restrooms and all of the touchable surfaces and things like that. Everything is pretty much open in parks at this point, and we will be discussing what's going to be happening with gathering. When will gatherings advance from that 50 and less? That's definitely been getting talked about a little bit more, and we're getting a lot more requests. We'll have to start making decisions on, Lost Dutchman days and all those kinds of things. We have not announced yet about the holiday event, but as I shared last time, we are leaning towards a reverse light parade where we drive through the displays and still have a lot of those things. So we'll be able to share a little bit more about that soon. And then I've already kind of shared with you everything about the programs that we have COVID-wise. And I don't know if there's anything else, though, that, from the last presentation, if you have questions or if there's anything in particular that you would like me to share. Okay.
Okay, now we'll move on to new business.
So I would encourage, if you haven't already had if you weren't at the council meeting this, or last, oh gosh, it was only last night, it felt like forever ago. We did share the research. So again, we were tasked with, we were given direction to staff to research a citizen request, or I guess I'll say a group of citizens request to have a large flag at Flatiron Community Park. And the task for Parks and Rec was that we would look into what the cost to install that would be, the cost of maintenance in future years, and then what other considerations we felt needed to be looked at. And the council kind of talked about a lot of different concerns or questions, things that they wanted to be looked at. And so we presented all that research last night. I had shared with them that we discussed it at our Parks and Rec Commission last time. I had discussed it with the Art Commission as well. They had some of your same thoughts. I think everybody thinks the largest flag in the state is cool on one hand, and definitely is interested in sort of that patriotic spirit. But making sure where it's at is the ideal location is important. Making sure that we're going to be able to maintain it, is really the amount of money that's going to cost going to be able to be raised, all of that kind of stuff. And so just kind of a short version of what we shared. We did learn, so there's not a whole lot different from what I shared the last time we met. We were able to reach out to 3 different people that do flags and flagpoles. We have a member of our parks team that used to work for one of the large dealerships that had the large flag, and he actually had, as part of his responsibilities, taking it down whenever it had to get taken out for sewing and updating it. So he had a little bit of knowledge in that. And then we talked with the veterans organizations that had said that they were interested. So the VFW, the local one that is near the Chamber of Commerce, I think the citizen group had reached out to them about being the keeper. I think everybody was a little bit concerned about the raising of funds and how that all works. So my understanding, the last that we had talked with them, was that they had agreed to be kind of they'll be the 501c3 and keeping of all that. As I talked to them just to find out, is there interest? They believe that there is interest in about 6 different veterans groups that are interested in raising the funds, or at least just learning more about this, maybe being a part of a committee that further looks into it. So we know that there's a group that is interested in that. They say that they are interested in taking care of all the costs, that none of that would go to the city, so the install as well as the annual maintenance. So I mean, if that was true, I mean, I think that would be very helpful. So we did learn that the size of flagpole that you would need for a 50-foot by 80-foot flag is anywhere from a 150-foot pole to a 240-foot pole, and it really depends on different things, whether or not it's going to get lowered to have staff, where it's located. Yeah. All the different folks told me a couple of different things, so I think that would be good to kind of once we narrow it down and figure out why they have some different dimensions. The install, it has to be, everybody agrees it has to be engineered, structurally engineered, so you'd have to have that stamp. They have to plan for everything how it's going to be dug in. I think for a 150-foot pole, one that we looked into, it's a 6-foot by 6-foot footing that's 15 feet deep. You pretty much have to go 10% below grade of whatever the height of your pole is. So for a 240-foot pole, it has to be dug 24 feet down. We had our public works director, because it's so close to North Apache Trail, we had him kind of show on a scale how far away it would need to be from the road in order to not at all be considered an obstruction in the view. And, that's about a 90-foot radius circle around it. So it kind of puts it almost in the middle of the park versus a corner. So we shared with council just some of our concerns about Flatiron in general. So I shared a little bit of what you guys shared in the Arts Commission, as well as some of the other citizens that had reached out. Just at the scale of the flag to that smaller park is really challenging. In addition, in order to put it in the corner that they talked about, we would have to go back and have a recommendation to not adhere to the master plan. So kind of the location that they talked about is where the future Ramada will be. And while, yes, I know we don't have 40,000 right now to do it, it's definitely in the near future that for many of our events, that is very desirable to have that. And so sharing, what are some of our concerns of having it at Flatiron. Yes.
Did they check on the focal point? How much land is over at the focal point?
No, so that's not our land, and so everything behind the focal point itself is not our land. And again, those can be some of the future things. We gave them Prospector Park and the Veterans Memorial Gazebo as 2 alternative sites that if this were to go forward, and there really wasn't a decision on that at the meeting. The Veterans Memorial Park, that was done by a Veterans Committee, way back. 1982, that was established. It was supposed to be fully funded by veterans organizations and maintained. And pretty much now, it's definitely in disrepair, and it's something that we kind of have to make sure is safe. And, I would love, that's a huge area in front of that. It would be great to have one area that was really, highlights our veterans. So we shared that location. Prospector Park has lots of different areas that you could do something like that. It's not as visible to the downtown, which is what I think Flatiron represented to them. The overall cost, when you talk about lighting, talk about the install, all of that, we shared is in the range of $80,000 to $110,000. And I just got back one of the 3 quotes that didn't do the 240-foot pole, and it was like $160,000. So that was similar to what a couple of the veterans organizations had already researched and learned. But there are individuals, some of the council members that had been looking into it as well, and they think that there's some other pricing out there. And so really we just shared the information that we had and some of the things that would need to be considered. And they kicked around a little bit, but there wasn't an agenda item to give further direction to staff. And so they discussed that this would have to be added to they really want to let the community ruminate on it a little bit to be able to weigh in on the research that was given, and the council members to think about it a little bit, and then they can bring back to a future council meeting a direction to staff for the next steps of truly, I think everybody, at least from what I was hearing, while some are very ready for it to start, it sounded like there's still other research steps to look into. One of the things that I had asked for was just that whatever entity is going to contribute the money, that we figure out a way to maybe, contractual might not be the right word, but doing something that kind of keeps it historically captured so that, right now we have a lot of things that community groups contributed. And we're going to maintain, and we maintain them now. And sometimes it's not because anybody didn't mean to, it's just the people that made those arrangements aren't here anymore, and nobody has it captured in any place that is, well, it could have been, but we don't see it anywhere. And so, we just really need to make sure that the city knows exactly what they're getting into for this.
So at this point, we don't need to spend any more resources on this?
Correct. So I've been told that it's pretty much, we're gonna wait and see. And what might happen next is maybe there would be a small committee that would work on looking at things for the different locations, but that would come from the veterans community. So some of those different organizations really making sure that it's something that veterans want to have, out and about.
Liz, so you had somebody who works at Birchford or has contact there to find out?
So
what
he
theirs
had
is?
worked for there long ago and just had experience. They're all different ownership now. So we,
Yes.
a lot of our flag manufacturers, they work directly with all those agencies. So they gave us,
Okay.
put us into contact with a lot of the different companies just to see what we need to be looking into. And they all are kind of in that same, I'll just say, range. And a lot of it will just depend on where it's at and what you have to do to have it at that particular facility. So, and I think just in the long run, if you do have other thoughts, certainly share them with me. And as we said, though, we have not been tasked to do anything else until we go back to council
Well,
again.
it
And
seems
it's-
we spent a lot of time and money researching something for somebody who should have really done their own research.
So, and
Presented us with that research rather than us having to do the research. Goodness knows, Liz, the department is challenged these
Right.
days. The last thing you needed was this flag thing dropped in your lap.
so.
You did an admirable job with it, but I know you bled other places to deliver it.
Yeah. So,
Thank you, Frank.
yeah, and I think that was definitely mentioned by the city manager and just really trying to be cautious about, what we did. I will say a lot of those groups did come, later and had some thoughts. And many of the folks that I talked to were very much on our same wavelength of, that we need to really pick a location that is more meaningful. I think if it gets to that next step, we'll certainly hear how, and I think they'll continue to be more involved. My understanding is that they've raised about $15,000 now, and
What I heard.
so, we'll see how it goes. And
your point about, even 5, 10 years, there's still an interest in it, but what happens 15, 20 years
Right.
down the road, when it begins to decay,
right,
not only the flag itself, but the whole structure, and who's going to come up with that money?
right,
And is the community still going to feel that way?
right,
So I'm glad to hear it's paused, and I hope some minds reflect on it.
yeah.
Liz, isn't there a plan to eventually expand Flatiron to the north across that little wash?
No, but remember the master plan has a phase that we haven't, well, 2 phases. I can't imagine we're going to do the last one, but on that one corner where Think Water is, there's another big, large Ramada planned and more concrete for all of our events, for food trucks and things like that.
Right.
Part of the plan also was the walking, or the observation deck, that kind of comes out and goes across. I think it's like $1 million though,
I
so,
think that'd be way cooler than the flag.
yeah. Maybe a flag could be up, it could be the highest point of the flag, and I don't know. But a lot of cool ideas. And I think the point was made from some of our groups, just that there are other things that could be very beneficial to veterans too. But this is one idea, and you know what? We did the things that we were asked to do, and whatever the council's desire is what we will do next. And so that's our update, though, so that you guys will be probably a part of that whenever we do some of those next steps. So just kind of be aware.
Okay.
And that concludes that.
That concludes it. We have no more new business. Our next item is call to the public, and, we do have a public right back there, huh? You're tired of talking? Okay, so we'll go beyond that since there's nobody. Last is requests for future agenda items. Do we have any requests, guys and gals?
Maybe something about the remodeling of the veterans gazebo, that area. Maybe putting, whether it's the money from the flag toward that maybe, or something.
That area needs a tune-up, you're saying?
Because it would be neat to kind of clean up that corner a little bit and make it more attractive.
And if I could suggest maybe doing a report on all of the locations that have been done as a,
Yes.
remembrance of veterans. So there's a lot of different things that have happened, and maybe just a short history on what all those are, so that people would be reminded also of some of the things that we have, and those might generate some other ideas too of combining projects.
Thank you, Judy. Any other?
Yeah, one thing I don't know, and maybe this was covered before, but on the new median project, I know there's been some discussion on keeping the rocks and stuff contained. Has that ever been formally addressed, or what's going on? Because I know that, it's like all the middle area is awesome, but there's still a lot of spillover happening. I wanna know if there's something going on, because I'd like to see that keep.
It was on the last one, but I will share with you.
Okay, yeah, I know, that's why I didn't know if I missed it.
But yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, any other items?
And I'm sorry.
Oh.
But on the Apache Junction, we can certainly do, as an agenda item, we'll be able to update where we're at on the
Yeah.
Apache Trail median,
That
so
would
we'll
be
make sure
good.
that that's on the agenda.
I mean, as I'm looking at what they've done there, as my wife and I have driven on the trail, I'm seeing it's. Okay,
Talk about it next. That's all I was asking. So what's
Okay.
on next?
Rule breaker.
Must follow
okay,
rules.
that's it for requests for future agenda items. At this point, we will adjourn the meeting now at 6:55.